You are listening to Offensive Lines with Marlon and Boyd. Small stakes NFL gambling for the average fan.
Welcome to Offensive Lines. I'm Marlon.
I'm Boyd.
And should we call this the hoped-for redemption special?
Yeah. We didn't have... See, you know what? I don't think we had a losing week last year till week 8. It was something stupid like that.
We lost, but we lost tiny amounts. We did not get skunked once last year.
Well, that changed in a hurry. 3-0, 0-3.
Like I said, I don't know whether to recommend fading us or backing us.
Well, back us this week or next week's picks are free.
Yeah, exactly.
Full refund.
Okay. This is a brutal set of lines. But we said that almost every week last year, too, because, do you know what? Betting on the NFL is brutal. Okay, you ready to go?
Let's do it.
You know what time it is.
It's motherfucking game time!
That's right. It's motherfucking game time. The Thursday night game. Houston, as of the time of recording, is a 1-point favorite going to New England to face Jacoby Brissett.
Garoppolo's a game-time decision.
Yeah, but that's
right
because
now.
they don't have to say anything. They don't have to... This is that injury rule we talked about in the offseason. He could be he could be 99% out. This just played into Belichick's hands.
Well, do you think the Texans would be dumb enough to think he's starting? I would hope not. And you have a short week anyway. It's basically, okay, here's their tendencies, here's what we're going to do.
Yeah, that's really true, is no one really game plans for a Thursday night game. This is why these games suck. And in spite of the points explosion last week, the game still sucked.
Yes.
So, we don't bet Thursday night games, but we will put in our picks for office pool purposes.
Which way are you leaning?
I'm going to hate myself for this, but I'm going to take Houston.
See, this just... Well, you're fading the public because the line's moved 1.5 since last night when I looked at it. It was plus 2.5 last night when we did the recap show for week 2.
Okay.
So what caused the line to move? Was it because they said Garoppolo was a game-time decision?
Well, no, I'm following the public, aren't I?
No. The money's coming in on New England.
Oh, okay. I feel much better fading the public.
Yeah, because New England was plus 2.5. Now it's plus 1. So the money's coming in on New England. So, is Houston for real? Can they score points?
I don't know that they can score points, but I do think the defense is getting a little better. I mean, New England with a non-Brady quarterback, it seems to me their offense is going to resemble what Kansas City brought last week. Really short, really basic.
Yeah, but who can cover 2 tight ends anymore? When you got Gronk, you don't need to have a great quarterback when they don't know who to defend.
Yeah, but is Gronk playing? I thought he was game time too because, again, as we discussed in the offseason, New England will... By the end of the season, the entire roster is just going to be on that questionable list, or whatever they call it now. You give the master of the bluff the opportunity to hide more. Really don't get this new injury reporting policy at all.
Well, I'm not a big fan of Osweiler. The home team is generally about 80% on these Thursday night games, just because of the short turnaround.
That's a very good point. Though Houston is just going north.
No, I'm not even talking, but it doesn't
zones.
matter. It doesn't even matter.
It's still, that 1 day of travel, which is, in spite of the private jets, all of that.
You still don't get the work in.
Yeah.
You lose one. You're basically doing your walkthrough before you leave.
Yeah.
Wednesday.
And New England is coached by the Dark Lord.
Well, and I think their scheme's better. I don't know. Fuck. Houston's defense is good. I don't think their offense is great. I think you're just going to see a steady diet of LeGarrette Blount to soften up the defense and give the rookie more time. And he'll go short. They will go short, but it'll be off play action.
Yeah, but
to
doesn't
freeze
that
the
sound
linebacker.
like a classic Kansas City game plan? Which Houston defended fairly well, which was kind of what I was trying to say there earlier.
Yeah, but Blount's going to punish them. The Chiefs didn't have anybody that's going to punish you.
And New England won't back away from Blount either.
No,
That's
because
true, whereas we discussed the carries in the recap show, why Spencer Ware and Shakandrick West weren't used more when what they were doing wasn't working was classic Andy Reid. Belichick's not Andy Reid. Even though Andy Reid is a good coach.
It just makes you scratch your head sometimes.
Yeah, there are very confusing moments. If I were investigating the influence of gambling on the NFL, I'd probably start with Andy Reid.
And there's always improbable runs in the NFL. Like the Patriots, before the season started, everybody's like, oh, they'd be ecstatic with 2-2 before Brady comes back.
And I think we called them 2-2 or potentially 3-1. Like, their success is not shocking to us either, by the way.
Well, no, but it is somewhat. Because nobody thought Garoppolo would be this good, or nobody knew. And then he goes down, and now with a third-string quarterback, it just seems to me the story that needs to be written is Belichick's legend will continue to grow. You look at the stats about home teams winning on Thursday nights for whatever reason it is. I'm going New England.
All right. All hail the Dark Lord. I don't blame
Well,
you.
And the fact that they probably still got walkie-talkies going, so...
Oh, yeah, and Houston's communication system will mysteriously shut off. Forgot that.
But...
No, I don't mind it. I mean, I remember 3 years ago or so, I was just so frustrated with Thursday games that I said I'm just going to take the home team all the time, and I didn't do poorly. So
no, it's like 80%.
That justification alone is pretty solid, especially when you're getting a point.
And you've got the best coach in football with an 80% chance already. What's there to lose taking New England?
Yeah.
I think they're going to end up being 4-0 when Brady comes back, to be honest.
It's possible. All right. I'm sticking with my Houston, though. All right. Next up, we have Arizona -4 at Buffalo.
I think we could bet on this game.
Okay.
We saw Arizona against a quarterback last week, very similar to Tyrod Taylor, and they put the clamps on him. I think we were misled in week 1 at how good New England is. And
okay,
we
I like this. You're kind of linking your discussion here. All right.
we kind of shit on Arizona because they lost to the Patriots, but the Patriots, I think, are better than we thought without Brady. That it shows that, okay, it's not just Brady all the time that wins these games for him. I'm not taking anything away from Brady.
No.
He's probably the best quarterback in my lifetime. And that's saying a lot with Montana and all them.
Yeah.
But the Cardinals defense just shut down the similar type of offense that Buffalo runs. Convincingly. Bills' defense is borderline atrocious.
Yeah, they can't seem to get a rush to save their lives.
It's not like it's December in Buffalo either. If this was a mid-December game, I might think differently too. But
okay, just to use our usual math, what we would be betting on here is Arizona really being about 7 points favored on a neutral field.
Yeah. Well, if they were playing this game at home, it'd be 7.5.
No, they'd actually be 10 points favored.
No, but
really, 'cause typically the road team equal teams.
Yeah,
but I don't think you're necessarily wrong here. Arizona might be 10 points better than Buffalo.
Well, I don't know what Buffalo's showing. The only touchdowns they were scoring against the Jets were on busted plays, where Taylor got outside the pocket and the coverage broke down.
Arizona doesn't have much of a pass rush at this stage that I've seen. It's my one worry.
Well, the highlights I saw, it looked like they were getting pretty close to Winston. At least they weren't letting him get out of the pocket.
Yeah. No, I'm fine with putting this into the mix because I cannot find it in my heart to bet or to consider Buffalo, really, which should tell me something, right? Don't overthink it.
Well, you look at the running back favors Arizona. Defense favors Arizona. Quarterback favors Arizona. What are we missing?
Yeah. And Palmer, who did look shaky and still a little shell-shocked from his playoff disaster, looked just fine against Tampa Bay.
Well, they were playing a really good team week one.
Yep.
Like when you draw New England first game of the season, that's not how you want to start. You want to start with somebody like Tampa Bay, get a little confidence, and then go on to New England?
Yeah, and we did discuss it too. For some reason, the gimme games seem to be problems for Arians, the coach. We saw it in All or Nothing. You know, facing a backup quarterback in Pittsburgh. The game he really wanted against Fisher and the Rams. But maybe that New England game was the perfect coaching tool to scare the hell out of these guys, because it's a good football squad in Arizona.
Yeah.
It's not perfect.
They're not much different.
As I said, the one thing I see is their pass rush is inconsistent. But Tyrod Taylor's not much of a quarterback either.
No, if they keep him in the pocket, they'll be fine. They're going to be able to run on the Bills. The Jets did. Without any problem. Johnson's a little more explosive than Forte is at this point in his career.
The Forte did look pretty damn young, I gotta say.
No,
this is very much in the mix, Boyd. I hadn't had this one marked. But
I didn't either,
Buffalo seems confused and frightened.
Well, and there's turmoil all over the place. Watkins isn't healthy.
That's a great point.
I don't think you'll see Goodwin going by a Patrick Peterson. They'll be well aware of his speed. No,
No, this is very much in the mix.
We shied away from Arizona last year on the road.
Yeah, and I should listen to your assessment. You've got a better read on Arizona than I've ever been able to muster.
Yeah, I think the Bills are outmatched. They're going to get outcoached. That Bills defense, since Rex Ryan's got there, they were a top 5 defense before he got there, and they've just been on a downhill fucking spiral since. I should say downward spiral. Downhill spiral doesn't really make much sense.
It was a poor choice of words. But no, and another thing I just thought, all through this board, I was trying to look for a good team versus a bad team that we didn't have to lay a horrendous amount of points. I think you might have found it here. That's a great pick, Boyd. I think we're probably going to end up there, but for now, we're just going to put it in the mix.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have Baltimore -1 at Jacksonville. These are two shitty teams, and I don't buy Baltimore at 2-0 at all.
No. I don't either. They seem to have a problem with the Jaguars in the past, if I recall. Remember the Thursday night game? The Jags blew them out.
Like I honestly don't remember that.
It was brutal. The Ravens were down 20 to the Browns on the road. Have they improved that much in a week? Like
no.
we always talk about the West Coast teams going east as a disadvantage. We never talk about it for the East going west.
But these are both East Coast.
No, but Jacksonville was in San Diego last week.
Oh, yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
We never talk about the opposite. It's always, the West Coast teams struggle on the East Coast because of the start time, blah, 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 blah. Well, for that game in San Diego, Jacksonville was on the 5 o'clock schedule. Not a 4 o'clock schedule, or 1 o'clock schedule, I should say.
Maybe that's just the reason that most people like a bit of a lie-in. But if you're keyed up for a game and you wake up at your regular time, you're just a little more tired by game time. Yeah, it makes sense.
It's different. It happens in every sport, and we just never talk about it going the other way because it's always the West Coast teams travel way more than the East Coast, so they get a little more attention about it.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I don't buy Baltimore. Their skill position players are non-existent. Running game shoddy. Defense gave up 20, and I think if McCown doesn't blow his shoulder out, they might win that game, or even the fucking penalty on Pryor.
Yep.
That shitty call.
I think more importantly, as you said, the McCown shoulder. I mean, when we discussed that Cleveland-Baltimore last week, I said, I think McCown may be an upgrade. And he certainly looked it. Yeah, but I'm going to take Jacksonville here, but I don't want to get involved.
No, I don't either, but I'm taking the Jags. Not sold on the Ravens. They scored 13 against the Bills at home. Got down 20 to the Browns, which with the Ravens offense should be quite comfortable.
We got to hope that Bortles improves upon his 3 first-quarter career passing touchdowns. But
I don't even care so much about that. The Ravens can't score points.
Yeah, well, but he's got to get the ball to those big receivers, which we thought would be a problem for San Diego's cornerbacks.
Yeah.
But he's just got to stop throwing boneheaded balls. But no, I like Jacksonville at home on this one. It'll probably be, I haven't looked at the weather, but it'll probably be about 1 million degrees on the field.
Yeah.
Baltimore's at skill position is old. I think right now their best skill position player is Dennis Pitta. And that's only until he has another contact hit and his leg comes flying off at the hip. Might actually happen. All right. Next game up, we have the aforementioned Cleveland Browns, +10 at Miami.
Okay.
I was surprised there was a line on this, to tell you the truth.
No, I'm surprised it's 10. They're both 0-2. Granted, Miami's played Seattle and New England. and were within a touchdown on both. Field goal on one, a touchdown on the other. Now, Cleveland starting a third-string quarterback.
And who is that, by the way? Kessler? Is that correct? All
yeah.
right.
And then I'm guessing the backup to him is going to be Pryor in an emergency. Well, no, they did sign Charlie Whitehurst yesterday.
Yeah, I brought that up. Clipboard Jesus is back in town.
Well, they did. Somebody in Cleveland or somewhere did a fucking Photoshop. Because this Whitehurst is like the 13th quarterback or some fucking thing.
Well, Cleveland now has started... it's 5 different quarterbacks in their last 5 games.
Yeah, well, somebody put Whitehurst as Jesus at the Last Supper and then had the other quarterbacks' faces superimposed.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's just beautiful.
Yeah, it's on the website tomorrow, so check it out.
In their misery, Cleveland Browns fans, like some of them are just obnoxious, but the decades of misery has made many of them very amusing. Really amusing.
Well, and I think they're still riding the high from the Cavaliers winning the NBA title, to be honest.
It might have loosened them up a bit, but they've been funny in the past. I mean...
Yeah, but there's not the...
You used to see it back in the 80s. The Saints fans.
No, fuck, last
year. The Saints
year.
fans were hilarious.
No, but last year, the fucking Browns fans were putting up rant videos after every fucking loss. Every Monday, I'd have something on the website from a disgruntled Browns fan.
The question is how funny can they be without just being, screamingly obscene? Which is, when the Chargers lose, I always tend towards the screamingly obscene. My sense of humor is just gone.
Yeah, mine too, when the Titans lose. But I have to take Miami here for no other reason than the Browns' third-string quarterback. They released another defensive player this week, a defensive lineman. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but how can a quarterback that he may have taken some snaps in the preseason, and the way Miami hung around New England and got back in that game, played Seattle tough. 10 against the Browns isn't outlandish when it's a third-string quarterback.
I know, and I'm with you, but all I can say is I cannot believe I am about to pick Miami 0-2, Ryan Tannehill, as 10-point favorites over anyone.
Well, no, I can't either, but it's the Browns.
Yeah. Because I do think Sue and Wake and that defensive front, which got confused by the short passing, I still think Miami is a disaster. An almost garbage time comeback doesn't thrill me. I'm more impressed, honestly, even though we've seen that Seattle has problems. I'm almost more impressed by that loss than their near comeback.
Yeah. But
I think you can throw it around the yard against Cleveland.
Yes.
So, wow.
And they're going to get some turnovers, dude. Miami. That's what I'm banking on. Third stringer?
Yeah.
And the Browns coaching GM shit show that's been going on for a decade isn't any better.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty sad when the best philosophy is to tank. Though as far as tanking and acquiring picks, they've done a great job of that part. Let's see you pick some talent next.
Well, they dismantled that whole regime before them. The whole team's almost gone.
Well, and here's the thing. I don't think their owner has the patience to let this new philosophy come to fruition. Every year when he hires a new coach and management staff, he says, I was partial owner of the Steelers. I've seen what continuity matters. They didn't even wait till week 15 to fire people, or the end of the season to fire people.
Yeah.
It's a shit show.
Well, he's Dan Snyder, too.
Yeah. Strangely enough, even more overtly criminal than Dan Snyder. Okay, next up, this game is off the board at our betting site of choice, Bet365.
Oh, and we both did take Miami there, in case you were confused.
Oh yeah, I couldn't believe it, but yes, I did take Miami there. Denver is off the board at Cincy. The lines out there, I believe, are pretty much the standard. Denver are 3-point underdogs.
Underdogs?
That's what I thought. Do you want to do a quick check on just
No. I'm taking Denver. I don't care what the number is. It's not going to be 7, but I'll take Denver in 3. With that defense, the Bengals could do anything against Pittsburgh's defense.
In a pouring rainstorm.
I don't care. If you're going to win divisions, you win those fucking games.
Okay.
If you want to beat the bully, or if you want to be the bully, you have to beat the bully.
And they had a chance without that highly dubious.
Yeah, but that's almost like a
Boyd
garbage
fumble.
time comeback that you're talking about Miami. That one. They were down 24-10 with like 5 minutes left in the fourth.
Yeah.
They'd done fuck all.
Okay. I'm still not convinced. Simeon looked poor against Indy.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well,
fuck, their quarterbacks looked horrible all last year and they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
This defense hasn't lost a beat.
You can't keep counting on 14 points from your defense.
But we said that last year.
No, and they did
and they
lose
keep
games,
doing it.
man. They lost games.
I
They're
know.
traveling west to east. And, by the way, Indy had their own pick six on Simeon's. But again, as I brought up last night, Denver's the luckiest fucking team on the planet. He pops a hammy and drops like he was shot with a deer rifle in the middle of the field.
That's okay. I'll take Denver's
Suddenly
defense.
they don't cover 6 at home, and that I'm going to take Cincy here.
Denver's getting points.
Yeah, I know. They're not that good. They're good enough to win their division. They might be good enough to win a Super Bowl if the defense gets that crazy in the playoffs again. But they're playing a good team. Not at home. They don't get the fourth quarter exhaustion of the opposing team going into Mile High. They get a time zone change. Situational pass rusher Ware is out.
It won't matter.
Okay.
They're going to run the ball down Cincy's throat, which is the game plan for the whole season.
Yeah, I actually, by the way, I haven't seen, obviously, a total on this either, but I think both teams are just going to try to run it.
Well, you're not running against Denver.
Gore and Turbin did pretty well. Jonathan Stewart had 80 yards.
Yeah, we'll see. I still like when you see what Newton does against average NFL defenses, and you see what he does against Denver, and Andrew Luck put up almost 400 yards the week before against Detroit, and Denver just shuts him down. Yeah. The Bengals have trouble running the ball now for whatever reason. 2 years ago when they got those 2 rookie running backs, it looked like they'd found the magic fucking pill. I don't know what happened to that. Because they couldn't run against the Steelers. I see Giovanni Bernard getting fucking laid out like he did playing the Colts a couple of years ago. When fucking Dalton's panicking and just throwing dump-offs because there's so much heat in his face.
It's certainly possible, but I'm taking Cincy.
Okay, and we're betting on this at +3. correct?
Yeah, I'll mark that's where our number is. We'll check it afterwards. I've got a +3 on Denver there. All right. Next up, officiated by the same master who allowed Green Bay to win a game last year after a face mask call which didn't touch the face mask, and which he explained at the press conference in Detroit this offseason as, oh, no, you don't have to grasp and turn in the face mask. You've just got to get your fingers in there. And then when people pointed out, maybe you should watch the video and that there were no fingers in the face mask, he said, dude, forget about it. It's 2016. So, yeah. Is the NFL really committed to being the biggest reality show? Because why else do you bring back that crew?
Well, it's all they'll be talking about through the whole game.
Yeah, it gives a talking point. It's got to be part of a design, because I can see no way you bring back the same crew.
Well, the other part is...
And by the way, I find that mistake understandable, and it just makes me ask, why isn't that reviewable?
Well, yeah, we were talking about that last night.
Yeah. I understand why the flag was thrown. I also think if we can review, did he turn forward and move with intent with the ball in his hands and scratch his left testicle twice? Because that's what a catch is. If we can review that and microscopically do it, why can we not review that kind of foul?
No, I agree. I just don't want... Because then we'll get into pass interference like in the CFL, and they're already fucking regretting that. Because it's just every fucking play is, oh... And then they go and break it down frame by frame. Okay, yeah, well, his hand... And then they fucking call pass interference.
Pass interference, I think, is a somewhat different animal. If you call a face mask and no hand touches the face, that's pretty simple. I understand that it's subjective, and I understand game speed, but that is something just like, was his knee down or a fumble? There is a definitive answer to this question. There isn't a definitive answer to PI.
But it happened, the Titans got burnt a couple of times on shit like that. And I still don't want it in. I still don't want everything fucking challenge flags flying in 8 minutes under the hood. Fuck.
I opposed video replay as a concept, but adjusting it, this is one that's got to be added. Anyway, to go back to the game. Detroit, 7.5-point underdogs. I'll first of all say I want nothing to do with this game. Secondly, I will add that I have no clue who I'm taking in this.
Well, I'm taking Detroit.
Okay.
Based on what their defense did to Rodgers and the Packers last year in both games. And the only concern I have is the linebackers for Detroit.
That's the big thing that's holding me too.
But Green Bay's offense isn't fixed.
No, and never a great offense in the short pass over the middle of the field.
No. You'd think with Detroit has in the last season and the first couple of games this year has given up a shitload of receiving yards to tight ends. They've had trouble covering the tight end for the last 18 games. Now, if Green Bay showed any penchant for throwing to their tight ends on a consistent basis, I'd be more concerned. But they don't. And Rodgers couldn't figure it out last year against Detroit. We saw what Rivers did to fucking Jacksonville's defense. Rodgers couldn't do it. He had to make fucking miraculous throws against Jacksonville to win that game.
That's a really good point. Because, by the way, what Rivers did was exactly that. It was across the middle And he would do that a few times, and then he would go deep to the corner once Green Bay started to cheat up massively in the middle.
You mean Jacksonville? Would
Yeah,
cheat in the middle.
Sorry.
Yeah. But Detroit's defense isn't bad. I know Colts put up a shitload, but I watched them play against the Titans. They're fast. There was a ton of penalties in the game.
Is Ziggy Ansah playing? See, that becomes a huge question for me, too, is the Detroit injuries, because he went out in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And
I don't know.
I believe he was the best player on the Detroit defense, followed by DeAndre Levy, who I still believe is out.
One of the linebackers I read today had a high ankle sprain. So he's probably not back.
No.
But I didn't see Ansah. I'm still taking Detroit. I may regret it on Sunday when it's 21-0 in the second quarter, but I just haven't seen enough out of the Packers to make them 7.5-point favorites.
Yeah, and that's fair enough, and you heard my preamble. I have no idea, but ultimately I'm going, this seems like the Green Bay bullshit relax game. Everything is fine. We're going to paste a division opponent at home. So you all shut up about the fact that it's kind of a team stuck in. It hasn't progressed in years. They've got one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen. You know, will this go down as like the Bears with their defense? How did this team only win one Super Bowl? But whenever the pressure really gets on, they'll put up one big game. I think that's it. So I'm going to take Green Bay, and it's a bullshit reasoning, man. Like you can argue me to a hole on all of that. I'm just going on emotion.
I just think with Detroit's defense, even with the injuries, it's better than Jacksonville's. So it's not Minnesota's defense, but the Packers haven't shown they can run the ball consistently.
No, I don't think Eddie Lacy is going to rip one for 76 at any point in this game. You're right there.
Like, in that Minnesota game, I thought when they got the ball back with a couple of minutes left, I thought, okay, this is going to be vintage Rodgers, and then he throws a pick. That was a bad pick.
And
that was a really
I
bad
may be
pick.
wrong on this, but it seems like Green Bay got, if not more, almost as many yards on penalties as they actually gained in that game.
Yeah, Rodgers only threw for like 190 yards.
Now that said,
I know they have
we
a good
agree
defense.
that Detroit's defense is not Minnesota's
No,
defense.
but he didn't have this big fucking statistical game against Jacksonville.
No. And we saw what Rivers did after losing two key cogs over 2 weeks. Yeah.
And
no, you make a solid argument.
Jordy Nelson, I watched the whole second half. He hardly got the ball.
Well,
so
you know, when I owned Jordy in fantasy, that happened a lot. He would get 3 balls in the first half, then they would cheat the safety over, and he wouldn't see a fucking pass for the rest of the game, or wouldn't catch one anyway.
No, but they weren't even trying to hit him deep, like even taking a shot.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
It's Caldwell. Detroit's already facing too much adversity. We'll have to see. I'm taking Green Bay, and I have no great logical argument for it. I'm certainly would never bet this game.
No.
All right. Next up, we have Minnesota +7 at Carolina.
It's the game of the week for me.
We talking underdogs here?
Not to bet.
bet. Okay.
Just to watch and see. This will tell us a lot about both teams.
Yeah, which is a good reason to back it off. I had this marked that I don't hate Minnesota at +7 on this game.
That's where I would lean. Only concern is that Carolina's put up 40 on everybody at home in the last 5 or 6 games. Seattle, Arizona, like good football teams.
Yeah. You're removing the NFC South from that. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
No, but that's Seattle and that were decent teams last year, and they just blew them out. So I don't want to bet it. I'm intrigued. I want to see how Minnesota's defense holds up against the weapons that Carolina has. Because this is their first true test of a somewhat elite offense. Right now,
Minnesota, Green Bay doesn't count as an elite offense anymore.
Not anymore. Well, when they've played 18 games,
yeah, no, I was just wondering where you were because that's a pretty bold statement.
Well, when have they been elite in the last 18 games?
Green Bay,
the
first 10 games last year. Then it fell apart.
Oh, I think it was before that.
So it's still 8 games. 8 games is good enough to make your point. Like that's just a quibble on when the decay started.
No, it happened before that. They lost at home to fucking Detroit. Should have lost in Detroit. They didn't play both those games in the last 8 weeks. The offense struggled from. They had a couple of games. Wasn't that the relax game last year?
I think relax was 2 years
4 or 5.
Ago. I thought relax was two years ago, but
okay, now you got to make me look that up.
You won't look up a point spread. No, but nevertheless, I agree with your assessment that we shouldn't bet this. And I tend to agree that Green Bay isn't an elite offense anymore. We're only quibbling about when it really became obvious to everyone. Because don't forget, they were 9-0 last year. I'm pretty sure he didn't say relax when they were 9-0. But, that said, I think a good reason not to bet this is to determine whether Sam Bradford will start to look terrible again when he starts to think about it, as we discussed in our recap show last night. He looked terrific against Green Bay. Carolina and Green Bay's defense, Carolina's better, but not massively so. They're going to double team. Like, Stephon Diggs is going to be double teamed for the rest of the year. There's no doubt about that. Why Green Bay was stubborn and kept on singling him, I'm not sure.
Okay. It started in October last year. They put up 17 against the Niners, 24 against the Rams, 10 against the Broncos, 16 against the Lions, 13 against the Bears in November. It started earlier than that.
Yeah, but the relax was not that year.
No.
I don't see relax as being a 9-0 team doesn't tell their fan base to relax.
Well, no, they were only 6-0 last year.
When they lost?
Oh, no, they're not showing the first. No, that's right. It started on the 13th of September. That's about right. Yeah, they were 6-0, and they lost 3 straight.
Oh, only 6-0? Okay.
Yeah.
My bad. All right, that's not relevant to this, really.
Well, they haven't been the offense that they were 2-3 years ago for the last 18 games to me. They beat up on some shitty teams, lost to some shitty teams, and it's just not the same. March down the field, look confident. I don't know I thought it was Jordy Nelson last year.
Well, that was the only thing that really changed. Because we're still seeing Aaron Rodgers can move around in that pocket, and we discussed this in the recap show, which is why everyone should listen to our recap shows. But he was still looking around. I haven't seen the All-22, but what I've heard is literally everyone was covered. You brought up that Lombardi pointed out that their system is, at this stage, just vanilla. It's to the point where everyone knows their tendencies when they line up.
Yeah.
Now, that has no bearing really on this Minnesota-Carolina game. You think Carolina's an elite offense, I agree. I don't think Jonathan Stewart, Artis Payne / Fozzie Whitaker, I don't think that significantly changes Carolina's offense. The running game is there to get 80 or 90 yards on the ground and keep the defense honest.
And it comes down to pass rush.
Yes.
Can Minnesota get pressure on Newton?
And
that's it.
Yeah, and keep him spied. Like, do they have that extra guy? Because I think they'll get enough pass rush with their front four. Can you keep a linebacker to spy Newton and stop him from just sort of scampering up like he did against the Niners, 11 times? The coverage would be there, he'd take a look around, and then he would saunter forward for 25 yards. He's amazing. You're right, this is the biggest test. 7 points seems a lot for a team that I think does have some questions on defense.
But it comes, yes. Oh, fuck.
I'm taking Minnesota. I totally agree with you not to bet it, but again, I was just looking for games that we could talk about. This is a hard fucking week to handicap.
Oh, I'm going Carolina.
All right.
I'd call it a gut feeling. I'm really interested to see how this plays out.
And it's not a bad call because I think it's still a 50-50 call. Everyone's sucking Bradford's dick right now. But it's repeatability that matters.
Yeah.
And I do think Stephon Diggs will not see single coverage for the rest of the year. And they just exploited them with, admittedly, Bradford threw great balls, but he got sacked, in my memory, at least 3 times, too.
Yeah, well, and I don't know that if Minnesota has to start that rookie at corner or second-year corner against Benjamin, they're in trouble.
Yeah, Benjamin has changed that offense a lot, too. It's truly made Carolina's offense elite.
And I think Newton will take more advantage of it than Rodgers did.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. This game we cannot bet. It is Oakland plus 1.5 at Tennessee.
I don't know what to make of this game. Derek Carr's put up big numbers the first 2 weeks, albeit against 2 very shitty defenses. As I said in the recap last night, Tennessee's defense has given up 1 touchdown in 2 weeks. I don't know which one is going to win out.
And
I have
Oakland's
to believe
defense has given up 1 billion points, admittedly, to 2 pretty good offenses.
But they're the worst defense in football right now in every statistical category. I think you could look at DVOA and all that shit. They're going to be the worst.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, we talked about it last night and on the podcast, and I can't figure out how they spent all that money on defense, and it looks like a significant retraction in quality.
Well, what scares me about Tennessee in this game is Parrish Cox got burnt fucking all day against Stafford and the Lions. They picked on him all day. He made the game-winning interception, or the game-ending interception, but I could see Crabtree or Cooper having a field day against him. Now, can we get pressure on the quarterback? Probably.
Can
Will we
Oakland
be able
run
to
the
run the
ball?
ball?
Probably not.
No, nobody's run against the Titans this year, really. Jesus. See, I'm at the point. How could I pick against this against the Titans against this when I'm thinking of putting Carr on the bench and starting Roethlisberger in fantasy? If that's entering into my head, like yardage wise, we've getting up. We're 13th and 14th or something in the league. Rush yards, pass yards allowed, but we've given up no fucking points.
Yeah.
I'm taking Tennessee. I'm going to probably fucking regret it.
No, I'm taking Tennessee. First time this year. Oakland's got to prove that they can stop anyone. Anyone before I get on them.
Well, and Coleman and Freeman were gaining yards against them when I listened to it in the first half.
Yep.
So
they
Murray
were both
should have a
used,
good game.
Amari Cooper, I mean, he's not Julio Jones, but he's in the conversation. That worries me.
But that's all they've got. They had one long run this year against New Orleans. Other than that, their running game has been essentially non-existent.
Crabtree's a nice little football player, but he's not a game changer. He almost looks like Bolden with speed.
Now, the only other tidbit here is in the preseason game 3, these teams played each other, and Carr picked us apart.
Yeah, who cares?
Starters on the field, dude.
Yeah, vanilla schemes. And who's your defensive coordinator? Dick LeBeau, who has the craziest fucking schemes for pass rush that he will never reveal in preseason.
That's true. No, I'm sticking with the Titans. I
like the Titans in this, and I've been fading them all year. So, okay, next up we have Washington plus 4.5 at the New York Giants.
No thanks.
Oh, really? I actually don't mind the Giants in this.
They haven't proven they can score enough. They won by 1 and 3.
They also shut down Drew Brees. Washington is reeling. You don't want to go there?
No,
all right.
Don't give me the Brees argument on the road.
Yeah, okay.
In the Superdome, he put up 52 last year. I'm not sold on that. They beat Dallas by a point.
Washington gave up an absolute fucking ton to every player. Like, Dallas shouldn't have struggled that much. Kirk Cousins is unsuccessful against winning teams.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying the Giants won't win the game.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they can cover 4.5.
Yeah, fair enough.
They went against a team that gave up fucking 35 to the Raiders. And the next week they only give up 16?
Yeah, but the Giants are only giving up under 20 on average to other teams.
I know, but they're only scoring 17. That's on average. That's my point. They'll probably win the game. I'm just scared that they won't get to the number. Because they were 4 or 4.5 against the Saints.
Okay.
That's my argument.
All right.
I think their defense will probably win them the game, but the offense has shown 0 so far.
Yeah, pretty much.
Did they get a touchdown a game?
Yeah, but I think Washington falls apart faced with the combination of OGB, Cruz, and now Sharp. I think the Giants give up on the run game entirely. and just fling it. Just throw it all over. I think this is over by halftime. I do like the Giants here.
Well, I'm taking the Giants too. I don't want to bet on it. If
Yeah,
they
no,
show me
that's
they can
fair
score
enough.
some
That's
points.
fair enough. I'm not
If they
super
show me they
committed
can
to
score some-
most of these games, with the exception of one.
Yeah, we're probably on the same one. If we can't find anything, you could probably twist my arm into this one.
Okay, I won't
But
even
I see
star it here on the list. I'll just put a dash that if we can find nothing to agree on, we might come back.
I just want to see the Giants score more than 20 points.
Yeah, they've got no run game, but I don't think they'll need it. I think their three receivers
but they couldn't
overwhelm
throw
it.
Yeah, but they should have done that against New Orleans. Yeah, that's the same argument you should have said last week, or you could have used last week with New Orleans.
Yes. In this case, once you find that you can't do it that way, maybe you adjust your game plan when you realize that
Giants,
you don't have a running back on your team.
No, but I don't know if the head coach is more conservative, but their offense seems more conservative to me.
Yeah, but you try the conservative approach.
Yes, but they're 2-0.
Yeah, but
as long
you
as you're
crawled
winning
away with that. And the only reason you're 2-0 was your special teams in that. You've got to fix your offense. You look at the numbers of your receivers and the talent of your receivers. And by the way, Cruz seems to be legitimately back. Maybe not as a number one, but legitimately a force again and a legitimate player in the NFL. I've always kind of liked the guy, so I'm pleased.
Not
to see
arguing
that.
against any of that. 20-16. They're averaging 18 a game.
Yeah. No, and that's a valid point to back us up.
You
if
don't
I have,
usually,
yeah.
Like if they get to their average, give up 2 touchdowns to Washington, and they don't cover.
I hate to say it, but I'm starting to become a bit of a believer in the Giants' defense. We'll have to see, because you're right. Everything is overhyped out of New York. The defense performs 2 games. They're the fucking monsters of the Midway. You're correct. All right. Next game up, the LA Rams plus 5.5 at Tampa Bay. This one, I will say no thanks.
See, I don't mind this one with Tampa Bay. 5.5's a lot. But if we know anything about the Rams, they always play Seattle hard and shit the bed against almost everybody else. This is like their good game, bad game shit. That defense shows up every once in a while for some reason.
I don't expect Winston to have a game as bad as he did against Arizona. He looked completely and utterly inept, and I'm still a believer in Winston. I just don't want to bet on him yet.
That's fine. No, I would just bet it based on the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't scored a touchdown yet, which is impressive, and we're shut out in one game.
And they're 1-1.
Yeah, that's remarkable, but I'm not there yet. I got burned. Like, this is recency bias, and if you really like this one, sure, maybe you could talk me into it.
No, but the Rams are so wishy-washy that I don't think they'll string 2 games together. Like, Case Keenum's still their quarterback.
Yep.
Like, is their defense going to hold them to 3 points every week so that they can win 6-3?
No, but I do think that a reasonable goal is to hold Tampa Bay to 17, and that's where the 5.5 scares the hell out of me. I don't like laying 5.5 with Tampa Bay at this stage, and I'm certainly not going to take the points with the Rams at this stage.
No, that's fine. There's just not much out there. I just think the Rams can't score. I think if the Buccaneers get to 20, they'll cover.
Yeah, but I see them at 17. But again, our projections are projections, right? They're just masturbation. But are you on Tampa Bay as well here?
Yeah.
Okay. Or I guess the more accurate question was, am I on Tampa Bay as well?
Yeah, I was on Tampa Bay.
All right. The San Francisco 49ers plus 9.5 at Seattle.
Oh, boy. I'm not betting this game.
No.
This might fall into the too shitty team fucking phenom. We'll know after this game. Wilson's playing on a bum leg or ankle. He said he didn't think he'd have trouble playing, which he didn't. He said but he didn't have any explosiveness.
Take more nanobubbles.
Like, Case Keenum beat them 9-3. Way too many points. Is this the equivalent of the Packers game you were talking about where they fucking blast somebody and everybody goes, okay, this is what we expected?
That, I think it might be, because I think Seattle in this game absolutely gives up on trying to play like they still have Marshawn Lynch, and they just start chucking it.
You're probably right.
Newton was throwing to everyone. And
Yeah,
so many
Baldwin's
of
hurt.
those receptions were just ridiculously wide open. We're talking 10 or 15 yards of clearance.
Yeah, but the Seattle doesn't have that kind of talent at wideout.
Yeah, they're going to throw it to Lockett. You're saying Baldwin's hurt, but I think that they try to recreate the second half of last season, give up on the rush game, and start throwing it. And I think you can throw it against the Niners. Part of the reason they shut out the Rams was they couldn't throw it, and who would they throw it to if they could?
I'm taking the Niners. 9.5 is too much.
Okay, I'm taking Seattle.
Seattle's put up 15 points.
I do think this is the equivalent of the Green Bay. It'll settle people down and obscure the fact that this is a really shitty football team.
So Garoppolo puts up 30.5. Wilson puts up 12 in a game. And they're 10-point. They've scored 15 points in two games. And they're 10-point favorites, essentially. No fucking way. I'll eat the 9.5 on Tuesday night.
Oh yeah,
if I have to.
Yeah, no, we'll see, and who the fuck knows in this, right? This is one.
No, but this line's absurd.
I put a red line through it, but
the
Niners had one ridiculously long pass play. I gave you that line from Deadspin with the Panthers toyed with their food. Now, admittedly, Seattle.
This line's absurd.
What you can do against... Oh, yeah, the line's absurd, but it's absurd so much because no one knows what the hell's going to happen. This is the line that's designed to attract attention on both sides. The bookies don't know, but they're hoping they'll get action 50-50. This is a classic example of this.
Put 12 on Miami and 3 on the Rams. Just makes no sense to be 10. 7, I would take Seattle. That's a fair number at home for them. 9.5, no fucking way.
This isn't a game I would bet under any circumstances.
No.
But I'm just taking the home team, and I think there's going to be this strange adjustment this week. Hopefully we'll see some human lines the following week.
Well, not if they win by 12.
No. Next game up, we have the New York Jets +3 at KC. I don't mind the visitors here, depending on injury.
No, this was my one. When I told you I only had one game before we started,
Yeah?
this was it on the Jets.
Okay. All right, let's discuss the reasons. The injuries are worrisome, but I don't think a big deal. Kansas City came back against the Chargers after getting into a big hole. That was a Chargers team that panicked. After losing Keenan Allen, they had not figured out at all what they planned to do. With a week, as I said, against Jacksonville, they looked like a better team. KC, we thought, was the better team going into Houston. The Jets are designed to stop what KC is.
Yeah. They don't have anybody that'll challenge Revis deep.
Yep.
They're without Charles probably again for another week.
Yep.
They're missing their best pass rusher.
Well, and without him, they have not a very good pass rush at all.
Yeah. The Jets have a great pass rush. They're not facing a quarterback that's, well, he can get out of the pocket, but not like Tyrod Taylor.
Well, and he used to be able to get out of the pocket, but against Houston, his feet didn't look right to me either, and everyone ages. Alex Smith is a great athlete, but it's like he lost a half step, and he only had a half step above the other people before.
Yeah, the Jets offense
he's looking a little wooden to me.
Fitzpatrick looks like an NFL quarterback finally.
At least until it matters.
Well, he made a fuck of a drive to get him ahead in that game against the Bills.
Yeah, well, let's just say we're not going to bet him in Week 17 with the playoffs on the line again, which I advocated last year. He will still put it up, but I think they're in a great position here.
Yeah, this
Forte has looked terrific. I hate to give any NFL team credit, but the way they benched Forte, didn't try to drag him back and grind out the last bit when he was still hurt last year in Chicago, let him go take his money deal elsewhere, was almost classy.
Yeah.
He looks great. And Bilal Powell is not a terrible backup to him.
No.
Yeah, I like this game too. This is my favorite game of the week.
Yeah. Oh, that should be a jinx on us.
Well, come on, we're 3-3. We can't quite go into Charlie Brown mode here. I can't think of anything Casey has done well this year. They got down. Like, the Chargers' win percentage with 10 minutes left was 99.9. And we just fell apart. Was that because Casey did anything super amazing? Or did the Chargers fuck up? I think it's the latter.
And me too.
Okay, next up. That one is definitely in the mix, and let's just call that a certainty. Next up, we have Pittsburgh -3.5 at Philly. I forgot this year that you are the master of the NFC East. You're the only guy who can somehow scoop the glots of cream out of the pool of turds in this division. I just bow to your NFC East picks. If you're listening to this and Boyd and I differ on a pick involving an NFC East team, take his. They're about 75% right.
I don't know on this one. I've been a proponent of the Eagles from the start. Especially after the first game against Cleveland. You weren't sold yet.
No, and I'm still not
Pittsburgh's-
completely sold, by the way. Carson Wentz looks good. I think he's going to be good. He's that poised. He's mistake-free without being rigid. I think he's going to be a good quarterback.
Who did Pittsburgh beat in week 1?
Washington. They just creamed him.
Oh, yeah, on Monday night. Oh, boy. My gut wants me to say Eagles. They haven't beat anybody yet. The Steelers beat Cincinnati, who's, I think, better than the Eagles right now.
It's a driving rainstorm game. I mean, I think you've got to limit your interpretation from a game that's in a monsoon. I think we'll agree Pittsburgh's a better overall football team at this stage.
Yes, but I like Philly's defense. Antonio Brown.
3.5-point roads favorites is a lot.
I know. That's saying like they're basically a touchdown better than the Eagles. This is the biggest game in Philadelphia in like 3 years.
Yeah. Well, there was so much. Everyone forgets Chip Kelly put together a couple of good teams there for a while.
One good team. They run the ball. Philly runs the ball enough to keep defenses honest. Decent special teams. I think they're an above-average defense. Fuck. I wish we had more of a litmus test for them before this game, so I had some fucking idea. But they played the Browns and the fucking Bears. I gotta go Pittsburgh, just on Antonio Brown and Roethlisberger. But I wouldn't be surprised if this game came down to the Eagles having a chance to win in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a 6 or 7 point victory for Pittsburgh. I'm with you. It's just not enough yet from Philly.
No, I don't have enough sample size with a whole new fucking team, basically.
But you have kind of convinced me that Philly is certainly a team to watch.
Well, it's nice to see a quarterback come in and be ready. A young quarterback.
Well, and like I said, they're not asking him to do a whole ton. But he looks really proficient and comfortable doing all of it. That's the difference.
And he, like, coming from Division II to look that comfortable against the pros, he's got to have some kind of brain.
Yeah, well, and, you know, it's entirely possible, too, that once you get into college, they throw too much at you and try to ask you to do too much. I mean,
well, no, but they maybe actually ran a pro-style offense there.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. I'm not that familiar with it, but he looks smooth and cool.
But you look at Jared Goff, had never taken a snap under center, high school or college. And they drafted him number 1. Wentz looks at least comfortable fucking taking a snap.
Yeah.
Under center.
And calling out protection packages, as you brought up last night.
Yeah.
No. I was really inclined to go with Philly here, but 3.5 isn't quite enough for a team that's not all there yet. If Philly had receivers who didn't drop 1 in 4 balls coming their way, talking to you and Nelson Aguilar, I would possibly take Philly.
No, we'll have a better understanding of where they're at after this game.
Yeah, and it's a stay-away betting game, I think. There are too many question marks.
Yeah.
I see it as a 6 to 7 point Pittsburgh victory. All right, next up, we cannot bet it. San Diego is +3 at Indy. I still have zero respect for Indy. I like my Chargers.
I do too. And the line kind of shows that. The Colts are +100 at -3.
Yeah, you were saying that. The money was coming in on San Diego. It's Denver, as good as their defense is, which allowed them to get the cover. Denver can't throw the ball deep consistently or just spread the ball around through the air. San Diego can. Indy has very little pass rush. That plays into the evolving but still terrible offensive line in San Diego. Rivers is going to get his... He only needs 3.25 seconds. And he can find someone.
Well, and you're getting production out of Gordon this year.
Yeah, which will back off the total swarm that happened last year. It's not great production, but it's solid production. As I said on our recap show, the whole said he would get 2 yards, he'd get 3. That's what I want for running back.
Yeah.
I really like my Bolts here.
And they've been Indy killers for years in Indy.
Yeah, they're not good enough that even if we were allowed to bet them, I don't know I'd be jumping at it, even though I have almost no respect for Indy.
Well, no, they don't have a running game.
Their secondary is a mash unit, and I feel for Indy fans on that because I've seen San Diego and the injuries for the last 3 years. It's just...
Yeah, but I don't feel sorry for Indy. They're still trying to build the same team they did when Peyton Manning was there.
Oh, I know, but
I'm
just saying,
offense.
Injuries hurt.
It wouldn't matter.
They suck. Like, I feel like sponsoring the cart at San Diego.
It wouldn't matter with Indy. Everything they draft and do is offensive related.
Yeah. Yeah, the only
and then
defensive move I can think of in 3 years was getting Vontae Davis from Miami because somehow he disrespected Philbin when he was there. And he made one bad play in preseason. Remember that from Hard Knocks?
Yeah.
Okay. We don't spend a whole bunch of time. We're running a bit long here.
Yeah.
Last week's pick show was short. Maybe the extra time is going to help us here. All right. Next up, we have Chicago +7 at Dallas. No. Not ready to lay 7 points on Dallas, but I'm taking them.
Yeah, I am too. Hoyer starting.
Who, by the way, in terms of a backup, you could do a lot worse than Hoyer. He started, 8 games last year? 10 games?
Yeah,
he started a playoff game. He's not good, but he's not a project either. You know what you're going to get? You're going to get a basic guy. I think he's going to throw to Royal a lot. He fed DeAndre Hopkins pretty well last year. He's not the worst guy out there for a backup, and he may be better than Cutler, who seemed disinterested.
But the Bears' defense isn't very good.
No. Well, especially losing 5 guys.
And I don't think Elliott will have the fumble problems against the Bears. You were saying they were opening up huge holes later in the game against Washington.
Yep.
I think we see that from the start against the Bears.
Philly was opening up pretty big holes for their backs, too. Yeah,
Dez got going with Prescott.
Prescott is another guy, by the way, very similar to Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
He looks smooth.
Yeah, it doesn't look rattled, doesn't look nervous, isn't happy, feet in the pocket. Looks like a veteran. And I think the Cowboys found their quarterback of the future. He might be their quarterback of the present. I don't know if they go on a winning streak here before Romo comes back, how do you take him out?
I don't.
No, I don't either.
And I like Romo. I like Romo quite a bit, but why do you go through that transition?
When it's already there, you've started it already. Why did you
and
just
what's
let
the
it
record?
go?
Okay, he's supposed to be back in week 7.
7 or 8, yeah.
I think 4-2 keeps Prescott the job.
Yeah, 4-2, 5-3. I haven't looked at their schedule long term, but they should be 2-1 after this one.
At 3-3, it becomes confusing. But all right, I like Dallas, but I don't want to. Yeah. I'm not ready to lay 7 with them.
No.
And the Monday nighter, Atlanta +3 at New Orleans, and I don't hate Atlanta here.
Yeesh.
You disagree,
I know we don't.
I take it.
Well, we don't have any games to pick. That's why I'm going yeesh.
Oh, right. The other one is that Giants one that you said I'd have to twist your arm on.
Oh, I think you might be able to twist it more on that. Remind me again who Atlanta beat or lost to in week 1?
Tampa Bay. Oh, that was a legitimate question. I thought you were coming back with the sarcastic comeback.
No, I couldn't fucking remember. We won money on that game.
And they put up 24 points. They put up a bunch against New Orleans, they put up a bunch against the Raiders, who put up a pile against New Orleans.
Oh, fuck.
It is New Orleans at home. I understand that caveat, but...
Oh, man. Do I trust Atlanta? Oh. No, I'd rather take the fucking Giants game, dude.
Yeah. I understand that.
I think you just brought this one in, so I'd have to take the Giants.
No, I mean, if you've got a better one,
we don't. We don't.
I'm totally open.
I'd rather take the Giants' defense than Atlanta's defense. And I know we're laying 4.5 instead of getting 3.
Yeah. We still got our mandatory underdog in there with the Jets.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's book them. We're at 122, so everyone who's stuck with us, we appreciate your patience. I think we got to wrap this machine.
We got Arizona -4 at Buffalo. $10 pays the all too familiar 1909. Booked. And somewhere on here we have the Giants.
The New York Football Giants -4.5 at home.
Well, it sucks because you got to put it in down the screen and then move up to the top of the screen to fucking place the bet. So we have the Giants -4.5 at home against the Skins. $10 pays, you guessed it, 1909. And then we have the Jets +3 at Kansas City. $10 bet pays for the trifecta, 1909.
All right.
Booked.
We are paying standard VIG this week. We have Arizona on the road at Buffalo, -4. 10 pays 1909. We have the New York Giants at home, -4.5. $10 pays 1909. And we have the New York Jets on the road, +3 at Kansas City. 10 pays 1909.
All right. If you want to check out our podcast, you can listen to it on iTunes or Stitcher for your Android device, on our website, offensivelines.ca. Follow us on Twitter at Offensive Lines for any updates to our blog posts or when a new podcast is available. Our personal Twitter accounts at OLinesMarlon or at OLinesBoyd. Facebook.com/Offensive Lines. And if you want to send us an email, it's offensivelines@shaw.ca. I'm Boyd.
I'm Marlon. And those were our picks for week 3.
Fly, Eagles, fly on to victory.
Generous fucking gamble.
Hilarious. I got to tell you a Vegas story.